Okay. Hello, I'm Taylor Johnson, and I'm here with Desiree Schmidt of Desiree Yoga Coach. And Desiree, tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so my business right now is online and I teach virtual yoga classes and meditation. And I also provide nutrition services along with those two categories. And the variety of yoga does change from like a slower flow to a power yoga, all kind of within that realm of mind and body. Mostly virtual, but I do have clients that I go to their home and teach a private session just for them. And it's in the comfort of their home, so a living room or an office or a den, wherever they have extra space. And that's where I'm at right now, hoping to expand a little further in the next year or so. We'd love to get an actual brick and mortar building and offer more programming in person.
Excellent. So for the in-home sessions, I imagine you have sort of a geographic area that you prefer to work in.
I try to stay, yeah, that's a great question, within Green Bay, and that means a lot of things because we have Howard, Suamico, Bellevue, Ledgeview, De Pere. We're not just a small town with nothing else around it. I think, Green Bay is definitely a wide area. And so I do have a client in De Pere. I do have a client in Suamico. I've gone up as far as O'Connell Falls for someone that meets once a month. So I will, if a client is reaching out and wants that service where they want me to come to their home, I really just ask questions. So where are they located? How many times do they want to meet? And what kind of services are they looking for? I'm really flexible to work with anyone because I feel everyone needs these kind of services, especially now, and for their bodies. So I'm willing to travel depending on how frequent
Right.
and what they're looking for. So yeah, but I try to stick to Green Bay and surrounding area around here.
Okay. And so of course, virtually you could be anywhere, right? So we're in the Washington, D.C. area. And it would certainly be easy for folks to sign up with you and do a virtual lesson.
Yes, yeah. And virtual's been so amazing. I've had the opportunity to work with people from across the world. I had someone that signed in from Egypt and Singapore. And so where it was nighttime for me, it was like 6 a.m. for them. So they're halfway across the world. And so virtual's really been a blessing to expand the business to anyone, anywhere. Like you said, the West Coast or the East Coast. I do have a client that meets with me regularly online, and she lives in Colorado. And I have another that lives in New York, and we do virtual sessions. And right now, both of them are actually doing meditation sessions, but with yoga and that too, it's so beautiful that you can be anywhere and join in.
Great. I would imagine that doing a virtual lesson is slightly different from an in-person lesson. So what have you noticed about maybe some of the challenges of doing a lesson, an effective lesson virtually?
Yeah, I like your choice of words in effective because you're absolutely right. When I'm in person, I'm able to really engage with that client and help them getting into a posture. So making adjustments with them, letting them know how it feels in their body. And when we're virtual online, I can't do that. I can't be there to put my hand on your shoulders to relax it down or to straighten out your arm when it needs to be. And so for me as an instructor, or the coach, it's a lot more verbal cueing. And I really pay attention to every student that's on my laptop. And so I actually have two different screens when I teach a class. I have a larger screen, almost like a TV. And that way I can see all of my participants individually. And I do ask that they have their video on. I know sometimes it can be scary to have other people see you, or being on being on something like Zoom where there's a lot of people. But if they really want me to make sure they're doing the poses correctly, having their video on is the best way to do that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it did. I know a few other yoga instructors that also teach in the Green Bay area, that have done both in person and online. And I think that's the main thing from online, is not having that physical hands-on adjustment. But to some people, I will say some participants don't want hands-on adjustments and don't like it. And so they're perfectly fine with that virtual class and not needing to have an instructor that's right there, helping them with each posture.
Right. Well, and I imagine for some people, doing something is better than doing nothing. So they're at least getting that, right? And over time, they're absorbing a little bit of what you're telling them, and maybe understanding, oh, well, that's what she meant, and getting it better down the road.
Yeah, I really, as an instructor, really try to explain to participants how it feels in their body. So if I want them to relax their shoulders, like making them arms feel heavy, really explaining the physical, what they're going to feel when they're in the correct alignment or correct posture. And yoga is all about the movement and not doing things perfectly. You don't have to do down dog and look a certain way, and you don't have to look like I look or what the other participants look like, because we are different. Every human being has different hip width and leg width, and our weight is different, and everything about us is different. And so none of us are going to look the same in a posture. And so I really try to remind participants that, whatever you do today might even be different than tomorrow and the next day, and that's totally fine. So really just feeling confident and comfortable in however they look in the pose or feel in the pose is important.
Cool. Now, is there like an ideal person for yoga, or like, for example, I see you sitting on the floor, and I could imagine that there's some folks who might watch this and say, I could never do that. And so they think, well, I can't do yoga. But I suspect you have an answer, that there is a way they could still do yoga.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. My philosophy is anyone can do yoga. It's finding the right practice for you. And so you brought up a great example of how I'm seated on the floor, and even in a cross-legged position, this could be very uncomfortable for someone that had knee surgery or hip surgery or has arthritis in the joints and can't get down on the ground and then, stand back up from this position. And so there are classes out there, for example, a chair yoga class. I actually offered some of those last winter. I had participants that were recovering from injuries. They requested it. And so finding a practice that fits your needs, because there's tons of different yoga classes. There's a power yoga that's super intense and focuses on strength, and you're going to be dripping sweat when you're done. But then there's also really slow, calming, restorative yoga classes where you just breathe, and it's all about relaxing into a posture and everything in between. So anyone can do yoga. You might just need to find what yoga works for you.
Okay. So then maybe, do you have some tips or suggestions for folks if they're looking for a yoga class or a yoga coach? What sort of things should they be asking or looking for to find a good fit?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I feel that just reaching out to the owner or instructor before you take a class and having a conversation with them, whether it's via email or a phone call, or even if you feel comfortable setting up a Zoom meeting with that person, and being open and honest about your background, if you have any injuries or illnesses, and being honest about your experience with yoga and what you're looking for, and they can help point you in the right direction. So I myself, and including my friends that also teach yoga, we love it when a participant comes to us and asks us questions and wants to know, more about it and tells us about themselves, because the more we know about you, the more we can help you find a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And most instructors are trained, if they have their 200-hour certification or even a 500-hour certification, we're trained to make those modifications to help with injuries, to use the chair or have extra pillows and props available for that person if they need. So, but if we don't know that the person needs it, then we're not able to, share our expertise and help them along. So definitely being open to talk to that person before they take their first class.
Okay. So, and you just mentioned certification. So, and that's like something I had never even thought about. Of course, there's probably some certification process. So how did you decide to get into yoga, and then what's involved in getting certified?
Yeah, great question. And it's a great story for me, my background. I'm always very happy to share it. So I am someone that can relate to anyone that has a chronic illness or chronic pain. I've had Crohn's disease since I was 15, and it was pretty manageable for most of my life. But about 5 years ago, it really kicked up and got really bad to the point where I couldn't move. I was bedridden. It really just like took my life down completely. Yeah. And from there, and I have a fitness background, so I've been teaching fitness classes since I was 17 years old. So I was always that active person. So for me to go from, full out speed, active, always exercising and moving, to nothing was hard. But that's when I found yoga. And I found yoga in the form of meditation. I had read about meditation and breathing. And so I had downloaded an app, a meditation app, and started doing that when I was lying in bed. And I had taken yoga classes as a participant. And so when I was lying in bed, I would actually envision myself going through some of the postures as if I was doing it for real. So it was all mental at the time. And slowly but surely, I was able to get on some different medication to help with the Crohn's disease. And as I got better and started to heal, I started taking that mental practice that I was doing, and I was able to sit on the floor, do one pose, maybe two, and then I built my way back up to a regular yoga practice. And after about a year and a half, I was completely back to my normal lifestyle and doing yoga, and I continued the meditation. And I thought, how awesome was that whole process of going from doing nothing on the couch, can only sleep, to back to my normal lifestyle. And yoga was with me the entire journey. I wanted to take that and deliver it to other people and show other people that yoga can be the same for them, because it can really be there for you no matter what. You were saying, if someone can't get down on the ground, if you can't even move, yoga can still be there for you, because it's in our breath, it's in our mind. It doesn't have to be just a physical practice. And that, drove me to get my first certification, which is a 200-hour certification. That took me about 6 months to complete, because they go every other weekend that they meet, and it's literally 200 hours of education and learning and hands-on practice, teaching with other students and teachers that are in the program with you. And I loved it so much, I didn't stop there, and I continued on to my 300-hour training. So to get a 500-hour certification combined. And with that practice or that training, it really opened my mind to wanting to start my own business. And wouldn't you know it, COVID came along last year and completely flipped everyone's world around. And I thought, this is the time people are going to need yoga. They're going to need something to help them at home when they're not able to leave the house, something to help calm their nerves and anxiety and stress that they might be feeling. And so last summer is when I started Desiree Yoga Coach. And I really had the encouragement from my family and my friends. They were my first clients and customers that would come to my classes.
We all do that to our friends and family, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. They're the first to be invited and first to jump on board. And then, I started a Facebook page and Instagram and started putting out some classes, and more people started to join in. And that's where, being virtual, the impact that I was able to have expanded to people across the US. And as I mentioned before, different countries.
In the world, exactly.
Yeah, it was so amazing. And it's been continuing to grow. And like I said, hopefully eventually I'll get a brick and mortar place to kind of broaden my impact here. But I think I'll always offer virtual classes because of the fact that I can see anyone anywhere. And I really like that idea. So
yeah, it sounds like, maybe you kind of started it actually in a really good time when people were more receptive to doing things virtually as well.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe at the exact time that you started, that was the only option. But
yeah, exactly.
So, I know I have a housemate who's done yoga for years, and he was doing it virtually for about a year because that was his only option.
Yeah, exactly. They needed something to do as well that wasn't work. And, when you're with your family, we all love our family, of course, but spending a whole year locked in your house, it's like you need something for yourself, something you can do just for you. So even if it's a 30-minute, meditation or a 60-minute class, that's that time they can take for themselves and do a little self-care, just for them. So that's important.
Self-care is really important. If you're not able to perform for yourself, how can you help with others, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what would you say that your customers or clients love best about Desiree Yoga Coach?
So far, some of the feedback that I've heard is the way I design my classes and even meditation is I really try to tie in things that are happening in real world, real time, real life. An example of that would be we just had the fall equinox. So the first day of fall was last week. And I used that in my classes that I taught last week to talk about transitioning to different seasons and how our body and our mind also go through changes during those seasons. And so it's like a switch from, one thing to another, and how yoga can help that through our poses, through our breath, focusing on our mind, acknowledging how we're feeling, what those changes might be in our own bodies, and also honoring our summer and feeling grateful for what we had and allowing us to look forward to the future and look forward to a new season. And so I really try to tie in, things that are happening and going around. And I talk to my participants and try to get a sense and a feel of where they're at. And if I feel that my students that are all logging in and they're chatting to me before class, if I feel like they're pretty energetic and they could go for maybe a more faster, fun class, then that's what I deliver. If they log in and they're feeling tired and they tell me how busy their week has been and how crazy everything is, then I know that I can help them with that by tailoring it down.
What they need is a calming experience.
Yeah, exactly. So those are the two things that I've had positive feedback from my current participants. Just being able to listen to them and change the class if I need to give them what they need. And then, tying in our seasons and what's going on in the world, even the full moon, just little things like that, being able to tie that into class.
Awesome. Yeah. By the way, I was last week able to see this amazing sunset, and then maybe 10 minutes later, right behind me, the full moon rise.
Oh,
and it was
so awesome.
It was really cool. I mean, I've never experienced that before, where I get both sides in the same hour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Last week was awesome because you had the full moon and the equinox right in the same week. And yeah, that's so great when that happens. And it feels good. Like when you see something like that, it's like you just feel, grateful and joy and happiness. And you feel this like really light feeling in your body. It's like, it just makes you feel good.
Yes, it sure does. So talking about feeling good. So I'm sure you have some goals for this year that when you have accomplished them, you'll feel really good. What are your goals?
Yeah, so for this year, my goals are really to get more community outreach. So I, before starting my own business, had worked with the local YMCAs, and I was a director there for almost 10 years. And one of my favorite things about working with the Y was the impact I could have on the community by volunteering, doing some fundraising, working at local events with different businesses. And I really miss that. I miss those connections, and I miss working with other non-for-profits and things like that. So that's my goal for this year, is to, like you and I doing this call and this interview, is making more connections with people, and just helping out. I want to volunteer again. I want to, maybe go to a local market and meet some other business owners and see how we could work together. So just expanding in that way, a little bit different than just teaching the classes.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like what I'm doing here. We're connecting so that I can help you with your business. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, so what is the best way for folks to reach you if they decide they want to get some more information or even sign up?
Yeah. So on my website, there is a form at the bottom of the homepage that you can put your name and email, and you can either sign up for my newsletter that I send out every month, or email me directly using that form. So I get them immediately. My email's also on my social media site. So whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook, you'll see my email, and I usually respond within a few hours to any inquiry. Any direct message from any of those platforms is perfectly fine, even the phone call. So I really try to branch it out so that whatever is comfortable for the person, there's different ways to get a hold of me, whether they want to have that phone call or email. And I am totally fine setting up a Zoom meeting, just like you and I are doing now. I've done that a few times with clients that just have questions, and they also want to put a face to the name, or even go get a coffee. I am so happy to go get a coffee with people and talk and meet them, shake their hand, and just have that connection if they're open to that as well.
Cool. Yeah, or do a virtual coffee, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All of those links will be posted below in the description for this video. But just to say directly, DesireeYogaCoach.com is the website. So, and all the other names are Desiree Yoga Coach. So you can certainly do a search for those if anybody's interested. And I want to thank you, Desiree, for your time and for a wonderful story. This is, I'm really It's interesting, how often you hear folks who've turned um, a personal tragedy of some sort into a triumph, and those always
Yeah.
make me feel good because there's always hope, right? There's always light at under the door that we just have
Yeah.
to reach out and figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we need help doing that. And that's what I'm here for and what yoga's for, is to guide other people on their journey too.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording.